have a whole bunch of this old animal panel here that a lot of it's warped, and you know, it's usable, but you'd have to put a lot of work into getting it into good shape to be able to use it. So what I've started doing instead of trying to use this animal panel for fencing is I've started using this old animal panel for shelving. And so just to kind of give you a side-by-side here, this is just some, you know, inexpensive plastic shelving that I got from Costco. And this is some shelving that I made at just a fraction of the cost. And I'm using this for mushroom growing. And I wanted to make good use of vertical space, so I went ahead and I made these shelves out of wood and old animal panel. And like I said, it really is just a fraction of what you'd pay for these plastic shelves that you'd get at Costco or some other big box store. Ideally, you would use scrap lumber. What I'm doing is I'm taking 2x4s and then I'm ripping them so that one 2x4 becomes two of these 2x2s. And then I use them to form the sides, and then I form a little, you know, support here for the shelf. And then I put the animal panel on top. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a new set of these shelves for use in plant propagation, where I'll be growing a whole bunch of trees in nursery bags. And so I'm gonna go ahead and take these animal panel, I'll put down animal panel pieces, and then I'm gonna layer on top some wire mesh. So the animal panel will be the support because it's super strong and rigid. And then the mesh on top will be the floor that the nursery bags will sit on top of. Okay, so that went pretty quick. That was about 10 minutes. And so I've got these 2x2s now, 8-foot 2x2. Okay, so here's my larger horizontals. There's gonna be a front and a back for each of them. So I've got front and back, that's 1 level. Front and back, that's 2 levels, 3 levels, and 4 levels. So it'll be my 4 shelves. Those are gonna run horizontally like this. And then I'll also have 2-foot pieces going back to form the depth of the shelf. Okay, so now I've got my horizontals. So this is all moving along pretty quick, but now we're about to get into the slower part of the process, which is actually assembling the shelves. This is how I set things up, is I have these Torx head screws, and then I use a washer so that as I tighten the screw down, it's not gonna crack the wood. It'll just butt up against that washer and I'll be able to torque it down nice and tight without it going into the wood and splitting it. So the way I set this up is these smaller horizontal braces, I actually set these longer horizontal braces slightly in from those. And then the vertical piece will actually set in like this. And that way I can screw it in from 2 different sides, both here and here. And also, having this set in slightly like you're seeing here means that I'll have plenty of space to put the animal panel whenever I'm installing the animal panel, because if I make this too wide, I won't be able to cut a piece of animal panel down the middle and have it fit, because the animal panel is not 4 feet tall. It's a little bit less than 4 feet tall. So when I cut it in half, it's gonna be less than 2 feet worth of animal panel that needs to span this length here. So what I do is I set this inside of these longer pieces. So like I said, I've got nice directions that I can screw in from, and also it's a little bit more narrow to be able to hold those pieces of animal panel. All right, so there's the foundation. It's simple, just screwed in like I was talking about. Got those washers with those Torx head screws. And now I'll start screwing in some of the verticals. So this is how it's coming along. Looking pretty nice, I'd say. It's sloppy, I ain't gonna lie. It's not, you know, these are not perfect corners and perfect angles and everything, but, you know, it's kind of a get the job done type of project where it's gonna be outside, it's gonna be, you know, it's not some decorative piece, it's highly functional. So yeah, I'm happy with it so far. Now I'm gonna install the braces. As you can see, the braces are just real simple. Just a couple of 2x2s cut at 45-degree angles that will attach the horizontals to the verticals. And I need to do it in both directions, both this direction to brace it from falling forward and backward, and this direction to keep it from falling left or right. So I do that in not every corner, but multiple corners. So you can see there's a brace there, brace here, a brace back there, a brace down here. So quite a few braces spread throughout, but not every single corner needs its own brace. This is where I finished up yesterday. You can see, so here's the shelf, the wooden frame that I built. And then I put these bits of animal panel on here. And then I'm overlaying this hardware cloth on top. And so the animal panel is there to give it support. This is super tough and rigid. It'll hold a lot of weight. And then the hardware cloth on top is going to be to hold the actual nursery bags. So I'm going to be trimming these to make sure they fit around all these little bits of wood. And then after that, I'll probably fold these down, staple them to the sides here. And then after that, I'm going to cut out some strips of plywood that'll run horizontally like this, and that will form the wall of the shelf to be able to hold the nursery bags. This is what I had been using, corrugated metal, and it was an absolute disaster, nightmare. It was horrendous. It's just ugly as hell. And, you know, I'm going to have this thing for quite a long time. So if I'm going to have this thing sitting around, I want it to look somewhat aesthetically pleasing, not some ugly load of junk. This is the finished project. This is what I've had in mind this whole time. I've got these nice tall nursery bags. These are about the largest nursery bags that I could find. They're about the size of a half-gallon jug of milk. And I wanted these because they have this, you know, nice deep profile, so that whatever plants I plant into them will have a nice deep root zone. They'll also have that air pruning effect that I keep talking about. So as the taproot goes down, it'll hit the bottom here. The bottom is you know, just this wire mesh here, so it'll hit the air and it will prune, and that promotes the lateral branching. And what I needed was something for these nursery bags to lean up against so that they don't fall over. And so notice that by putting up these sides on this shelf here, I've got this really nice little compartment that all these bags can nestle into, and it prevents them from falling over, and it gives me nice vertical stacking here, so I can fit lots of these bags in a small space. All totaled, I should be able to fit, so this is 4 across, and then you can fit about 12 going across this way. So 4 by 12 would be 48, and then I'm sure I can squeeze a few more in there in different places. So somewhere around 50 of these nursery bags will fit on each one of these levels. And I've got 4 levels. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4 levels. And if I'm doing high value trees, something along the lines of, you know, between $5 and $10 of trees, 200 trees at $5 each that's $1,000 worth of trees, all in one nice confined stacked unit here. And this is just the first one, so there's no limit to how many of these I can fit, and just have tons of high value trees growing in this very small space. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the project, and hope this gives you some ideas for things that you're working on.